Hey guys, today I wanted to do a video about my thoughts, theories, and predictions going into The Last Jedi and also into Episode 9 because I don't think everything that we want to be resolved is going to be resolved in The Last Jedi. Now, I don't claim that all of these theories that I have are going to be true. I'd actually be surprised if they all were true, but they're just some of my favorites and some that I think would be the most interesting. So let's start off with the person that we know the least about from The Force Awakens, and that is Luke. I think Luke has been doing kind of a study abroad, finding artifacts with Lor San Tekka, and training himself to be a full-fledged Jedi. Once he felt like his training was complete, he built up the Jedi Academy, started training new Padawan, but it was ultimately destroyed by Ben Solo, who then became Kylo Ren. After that, I think Luke has had some serious contemplation about the Jedi Order and its teachings, and I think he's going to come to the conclusion that the Jedi are not right, the Sith and the dark side are not right. It needs to be something in the middle. I'm using the term the middle because that's what Bendu from Rebels calls it, and I think the other term that is frequently used about this middle creed between the light and the dark is misleading and technically just wrong, and Lucasfilm has not used it anymore, and I don't think that they will ever use it again. At the end of this, I don't think that Luke will go to the dark side. I think that would undo everything in the journey that he went through in the original trilogy. He's had his struggle with the dark side already, and he's already overcome it. I don't think he would do it again. I think his struggle is more just apathy and dealing with the fact that all that he's believed in and all that he was taught ultimately ended up being the wrong way. Let's move on to Rey, who she is and who her parents are, because that's one of the biggest questions going into this. How can someone be so strong with the Force that it seemingly came out of nowhere? And for that answer, I think that there is no way. I think that she has to be connected to someone important. I'm not sure who it is. I still bounce back and forth between her either being Kenobi or a Skywalker. And I think what I've settled in is that it could possibly be both. The evidence for her being a Skywalker is obvious. It's very obvious. It's almost too obvious. I always go back to a statement from Daisy Ridley after The Force Awakens where she said that when she watched the film, it was pretty obvious to her whose Rey's parents were. When she was confused that other people didn't see it as clearly as her. Well, the clear answer, and you see it when you watch it, is that she's a Skywalker, that she is Luke's child. Why she ended up on Jakku and why she was abandoned there, that's a big question. And that's something that I still haven't been able to find a good answer for. I do also believe that Han and Leia both knew who Rey were, but they didn't feel like it was their place to tell her. I get this mostly from just the acting cues and the choices that Harrison Ford makes throughout the film. Just the reactions and the way that he talks to Rey. It seems like he knows Han and Leia, not being her actual parents, don't feel like it's their place to tell her where she came from. They would want to save that for Luke and let him be the one to explain it. The connections to being a Kenobi for Rey are very strong as well, especially in the Force back when she hears the voice of both old and young Obi-Wan Kenobi. So here's the explanation that I think could fit well and would also be super awesome, is that Rey is the daughter of Luke Skywalker and the granddaughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we know from the Clone Wars that Obi-Wan had a relationship with Satine. We didn't really see the extent of it, but we knew that there were strong feelings between the two of them. I think that Kenobi had a child with Satine. That child met Luke after Episode 6, and that child from that relationship is Rey. I also believe in The Last Jedi that Rey is going to have a similar situation to Luke in Empire Strikes Back. I don't think her training is going to go as planned. Luke is going to be hesitant to train her because he sees how powerful she is and how dangerous she can become if she's turned to the dark side. I feel that she can feel that Finn is going to be in danger, whether that be on Canto Bight or on Crate. And because her training's not going so well with Luke, she decides to run off, much like Luke did when he ran off to save Leia and Han and Chewie. The relationship between Rey and Finn is interesting. I remember going back to when they were casting for the leads for The Force Awakens, and there was a little bit of emphasis on more of a brother-sister type of relationship between the two characters that everyone was auditioning for, which ended up being Rey and Finn. And you see it in The Force Awakens too, that they have a close bond, but it doesn't really feel necessarily romantic. Finn is very protective of Rey when he first meets her, kind of how any brother would be with their sister. They're very in sync when they talk to each other and when they're solving problems throughout The Force Awakens. And I just don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility that Rey and Finn could be brother and sister. I know some people will argue about the race thing, but it's also Star Wars. We've never heard any argument that it couldn't happen, and Lucasfilm could say that's how things go, and we would accept it and move on, because it's Star Wars, and you can basically do anything until it's written in stone in canon. I'm also totally on board with Finn and new character Rose Tico and them having a possible relationship. We know that they go on a little undercover mission together, along with the new character DJ, to Canto Bight. I'm already a fan of Rose and her character. She is like an engineer. She works on the ships, and that's what her role is. So there is a novel that is coming out called Cobalt Squadron, which is the squadron that Rose and her sister Paige are a part of. Paige is actually the commander of Cobalt Squadron. So what I think happens in The Last Jedi, I think it starts with a big attack on a resistance base. Paige, who is played by Ngo Tan Vang, who is Vietnamese, which is really cool. I think that Paige Tico gets killed in this first battle. Rose is upset, but she also wants to honor her sister's legacy and continue the fight in the resistance, which is how she gets caught up in this little side project with Finn and this mission on Canto Bight. Like I mentioned before, Finn and Rose are aided on their mission in Canto Bight by a mysterious character named DJ, played by Benicio del Toro. There's a lot of speculation on who DJ is because he's being played by a big actor like Benicio del Toro. I don't think he's going to have as much to do in this film as we think he is. Rian Johnson has talked about his name and how it's going to mean something to Star Wars fans, and more the fans that are familiar with the deep canon stuff. I think the name might mean something to us, but I don't think that necessarily the name is going to be a reveal of a character that we're already familiar with. I feel like we're getting set up with a kind of Captain Phasma type of thing with DJ, where we're getting our hopes up and we're expecting to see a lot from this character. And I still think we will see quite a bit, knowing that he's part of this mission on Canto Bight, but I don't think that he's going to play as big a part in all of this as we think he is. Captain Phasma, I think, can be an interesting one for me going into The Last Jedi. I think that she could join the Resistance. We've seen this a lot lately in Star Wars canon. Imperial or First Order officers leaving and joining the Resistance. We see from the novel and from The Force Awakens that Captain Phasma will do what she needs to do to survive. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that when Episode 9 rolls around, she's part of the Resistance. Kylo Ren. I think that Kylo Ren is on the path to redemption. And I think it happens now because the only person that will bring him back is Leia. We can see already in the trailer that there is an internal struggle with him, knowing that he is full out fighting against his mother. I think that he'll have a conflict with Snoke, and that conflict, coupled with Leia's love for him, will eventually bring him away from the dark side. And at the end of The Last Jedi, I think we will see Kylo Ren and Rey join up together, but they will join up in the middle, and they will be fighting against Snoke. So finally, let's go to probably the one with the craziest theories, and that is the identity of Snoke. And I'm not going to shy away from it either. Mine is pretty crazy. I know other people have talked about it, and I also know there's not a lot of support for it. But I think that Snoke is Yup Tashu. Yup Tashu was an advisor to Palpatine. He was not a Force user, but he was obsessed with the dark side and would collect dark side artifacts. We see in the Aftermath trilogy that he has a lot of these relics with him. He has this mask that he wears that helps him channel the dark side. At the end of the Aftermath trilogy, Yup Tashu is pushed off a cliff and he's wearing all of these artifacts. The energy from these artifacts when he falls is ultimately what triggers the explosion on Jakku. I think what happens when Yup Tashu falls is that he lands on his head, hence the scar, and is disfigured because of all of the energy that is emitted from all of the objects that he is wearing. Everyone has thought he is dead, and he runs off to the outer regions with the rest of the Imperial forces, and from there people follow him because he has so many similarities to the Emperor that they believe that he is a Dark Force user. I think that a lot of the power that lies in him now has to do with that ring that we see him wearing. And I think ultimately what happens is that Kylo Ren goes back to finish his training with Snoke. And he learns that Snoke is not all that he says that he is. He's not an actual Force user. He doesn't actually have the ability to use the Force unless he is holding on to those relics that he has. When Kylo learns this, he feels betrayed and angry because he just killed his father. He gave up his entire past life to follow Snoke, but he'd been deceived this whole time. He lashes out, fights against Snoke, but is ultimately defeated, which is why he needs Rey at the end. So that's it. Those are my thoughts and theories and predictions for The Last Jedi, and maybe into episode 9. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think by leaving a comment below, and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos to come, including Star Wars and other stuff. Bye-bye.